Now available in paperback and Kindle Unlimited, The Man Crisis. Learn why so many men are struggling to find their way in an increasingly gynocentric world in The Man Crisis. Get your copy of The Man Crisis in paperback and Kindle Unlimited today.
I am deeply disgusted by these so-called black leaders. And the reason why I'm deeply disgusted by these so-called black leaders is because they don't have the courage to stand up for black people, and they don't have this courage to stand up for black pride. Now, your so-called black leaders out here are now talking about how we need to forgive Governor Ralph Northam of Virginia and how we need to give Ralph Northam a second chance. Well, when I look at Ralph Northam's egregious behavior, there is no way we can forgive this and no way we can give this man a second chance to be the governor of Virginia once he has been shown to have participated in racist behavior such as wearing blackface in his yearbook and putting on a Ku Klux Klan hood, because those behaviors express contempt for the black community of the state of Virginia and show a complete contempt for black people all across America, because blackface was a way that racists went out here to express their contempt for black people by mocking them and presenting stereotypes regarding black people and what they wanted, and stereotypes they wanted to project onto black people and the black image. And this Ku Klux Klan hood that this man was wearing, and his Klan outfit he was wearing in that picture, again, was showing how he was willing to support a white supremacist organization and represent a white supremacist organization and not want to represent all the people of the state of Virginia. So this Ralph Northam has shown by his actions in 1984 that he clearly is unfit to be the governor of Virginia, and this man, black people should be demanding that this man resign, and they should be organizing efforts to recall this governor if he does not resign, to send a message to all of the racists and white supremacists in the state of Virginia that their types of behavior will not be tolerated, and that people in the black community will be the first to hold these racist and white supremacists accountable. Unfortunately, because these Negroes are nothing more than a bunch of cowards, instead of them demanding a tangible standard for accountability from a governor they elected and a governor they can recall or they can insist resign, these cowards are sitting here buck dancing and bojangling, talking about how we need to give this man forgiveness and how we need to give him a second chance. And I'm sorry, that's unacceptable to me. When it comes down to a man who has participated in racist behavior, whether it be a Ralph Northam or a Liam Neeson, we need to have one consistent standard as related to that behavior, and that standard is we need to hold these people accountable, and then we need to shut these people down. When it comes down to guys like Liam Neeson, we need to put them out of business by not supporting their films. And with your Ralph Northams, we need to insist that this person be removed from office. Because if these same people can sit here and talk about how the black lieutenant governor needs to resign based on allegations from women, then we need to hold the same racist governor to the same standard. Because if we have these politicians in here and we're having a double standard where, oh, we want this black man to leave, but we don't want the white man to leave because you have this governor and an attorney general who also participated in blackface. If we don't insist that all three of them resign, then we clearly have a hypocritical double standard in America and a literally reimposition of Jim Crow here in America. Because when it comes down to these situations like we have in Virginia, all three of these individuals need to resign and new leadership needs to be put in place. There shouldn't be any standard talking about we need to forgive racists. When it comes down to racists need to be removed from office because they are biased and cannot go out here and objectively enforce the law, which is what the executive branch is supposed to do, and the Attorney General is supposed to do. And I find it really sad that even on the national level, we have this cowardice coming from black leaders like your Cory Booker, who aspires to be the president of these United States, instead of this man having the courage to show that he is a leader in his party by insisting that this man resign. We have this coward going here talking about how we need to put ourselves in the white person's shoes and see it from where they're coming from. Well, I see it from where the white person is coming from, and where the white person is coming from is a position where they want to express contempt for N-words, and they want to show how much they want to make fun of black people and how they have no respect for black people. That's the place that these racists are coming from when they project these, when they put on blackface and pretend to be black people and project these stereotypes out here regarding black people's behavior. What they want to do is express their contempt for black people, because that's what blackface was all about. Blackface was all about expressing that contempt for black people, and it was all about showing how much these racists hate black people, because when you make a mockery of someone, you are showing that you have absolutely no respect for them, no regard for them, and that you see them as less than. Because during Jim Crow, that's what blackface was all about. That's what minstrel shows were all about. They were all about laughing at black people and seeing them as subhuman, because these white people felt inferior in the presence of black people. So they wanted to make a standard where they could present black people as a joke so that they could feel comfortable about being above black people. So this was an insult directed at black people. But what's more insulting than the blackface is the cowardice of people like your Cory Booker and these black leaders who are sitting there talking about how we need to forgive, how we need to see it from their perspective, and how we need to so-called understand. Well, I understand that we need to get rid of people like Cory Booker and these cowardly Negro leaders, because these leaders are not people who can lead us in the 21st century. They do not represent the best interests of black people, and all they really want to do out here is buck dance and bojangle in the hopes of getting some butter biscuits from their white slave masters, and they want to continue getting attention and approval from their white slave masters. So they show us that they are not on the side of black people, so we should not be on the side of these so-called black leaders, because all they're going to do is lead us into a ditch where we wind up in the gutter and they wind up the so-called talented 10th Negroes who are getting crumbs from the master's table, a master who expresses the same contempt for them that they express for us. But these guys are so cowardly, all they want to do is buck dance and bojangle in the hopes of getting some crumbs from the table, instead of insisting from a seat from that table so they can represent, and then as they represent, hold these people to the same standard they want to so-called hold us, and make sure that that standard remains consistent from person to person. Because if you're going to ask Lieutenant Governor Fairfax to resign for alleged sexual assault, then you need to also ask this governor and attorney general to resign as well. And any black politician who gives these politicians a pass, these are people we shouldn't vote for in the primaries for the presidency, like your Cory Booker and your Kamala Harris. We should not be voting for those people, and we should not vote for anyone who sits there and talks about how we need to forgive any sort of racist or white supremacist, because if we vote for these people and continue to support these people and give these white racists a pass, all that's going to do is open the door for further terrorism of black people by groups like the Ku Klux Klan, and it's going to open the door for further racial violence, because where we have mockery by people like this Ralph Northam, where we have people like your Liam Neeson expressing contempt for black people, and where we have companies like Gucci and Katy Perry making clothing that is mocking black people, I see a disturbing trend regarding black people. And when it comes down to that trend, we need to be the first ones in line to shut that down. And the reason why we need to be the first ones in line to shut that down is because if we don't set the boundary for things, things are going to escalate. Because when it comes down to these racists and white supremacists, all they want to do is get a foothold, and then they're going to push their way in, and then they're going to push their agenda where they continue expressing contempt for black people. And then after they start passive-aggressively expressing their contempt for black people in this media, what they're going to do is then further continue on into physical action, which means they may try to bring back violence like the bombings and the lynchings. And again, we have to hold the line, and when we hold the line, we never forget what they did in the past, and we insist that they stop trying to pull this stuff in the future. This is the point where black people need to set the boundary for the way they are treated in this country, and we need leaders to have the backbone and the stones to stand up to people like your Ralph Northam, a man who's sitting there insisting that he's going to stay here even though he has participated in Blackface, attorney general that's going to sit there and continue to stay in the job in the face of blackface. And we have a political party that doesn't have the courage to hold these men accountable. And if they don't hold these men on the local level accountable, then we need to hold the entire party accountable on the national level. And we need to make sure that that entire party that your Ralph Northam comes from and this attorney general come from, that they don't get any offices in the 2020 presidential election or the 2020 Congress, because if they're going to express their contempt for black people on the local level, then we need to make sure that they don't get any more offices on the local level or the national level. When it comes down to black people, we need to put our foot down as it relates to these racists, and instead of us looking to apologize for something we did not do, we need to hold them accountable for something they actually did. And when it comes down to Ralph Northam, his belligerence needs to be met with a huge force of a recall election, and it needs to be met immediately, because if this man will not resign, then it's up to the people of the state of Virginia to either recall this man or be seen as the racist they truly are. If you'd like to see me make more videos like this, you can donate to my Patreon by clicking the link in the description box. And if you want to learn more about men's issues, you can pick up my book, The Man Crisis, on Amazon.com. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe.